So welcome everyone, and thank you everybody very much. Please be comfortable, relaxed, attentive. These are very important factors to keep in mind and to practice. If you've had a busy day, then feel that that is now, in a sense, behind you. Let it go. Any small annoyances or disagreements or whatever, excitements, they're part of history now. Let them go. And just bring your attention to the body on the cushion or chair, the contact of your body with the cushion or chair, contact of your feet with the ground or wherever they are, a sense of uprightness in the body, balanced shoulders, arms loosely by the side, hands in the lap or on the knees. Head tilted slightly forwards, with the eyes a little open or closed, whatever suits you. Having the eyes slightly open can be helpful. Let in some light. We don't have to be consulting newspapers or media to know what happens in this world or what beings are going through, because we can actually see it pretty much on a micro level in our own minds. So if we're paying attention, we see the whole spectrum of emotions, feelings. And through that, we can understand what others are going through, often on a much deeper and more intense level than us. So sometimes we get a little hungry in the day and we can go to the kitchen and eat something. But of course, we also realize there are people who are hungry and there is no food. There is no kitchen to go to. They can remain hungry for not just days, but most of their life. They are hungry most of the time. So from our own little experiences, we can intuit what other sentient beings are going through, whatever it is. We can get a little annoyed, angry, anxious and afraid. So we know what beings are going through. And sometimes we have sickness, of course, strong pain in the body. So at a very basic feeling, gut level, we can appreciate the experience of other living beings and their wish to be free of painful experience and to experience happiness and contentment, pleasurable sensations. We can understand that. So we generate the motivation that our session together will be beneficial for oneself, beneficial for others. By helping oneself, one is creating the ability to be of benefit to others through deeper understanding of what we are, what we go through. Understanding that others, in that sense, are no different from us. So to be of genuine benefit to ourselves and others, we need to develop qualities of calm, clarity, genuine kindness. We develop powers of stillness, power of relaxation, to be at ease, but also to be very attentive and awake, to notice what's going on within and also outside. Just a small example of this, a story someone told of a meeting that several people were having with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So they were in a room and the door opened and a very elderly gentleman came in who was having trouble walking, and immediately the Dalai Lama got up and quickly went to help him into the room and to be seated. Most of the people in the room were much younger than the Dalai Lama at that time, but he's the one who jumped up and made sure this gentleman could come into the room and be seated comfortably. So there's that sense of being alert and awake, and when with others, then very considerate and aware of what other people need. Often nowadays we find, don't we, that people are so preoccupied with themselves and with their gadgets that they don't notice others very much. That can happen. Someone could be crying or, even lying in the road, injured, but people would just walk by. And of course, people might start videoing that person in order to forward it to a friend, something interesting, out of the ordinary. So that happens. So we need to develop this sense of consideration for others, kindness, consideration, based on being alert and awake as well. In order to do that, excuse me, in order to do that, we need to develop both the calm and clarity side, as well as the compassion, loving kindness side. The compassion, we will be looking at very deeply with our investigation of Shantideva's text, but we start with the calm and the clarity, with some quiet meditation where we take the breath as our object and we are aware of the sensation of breath as we breathe in and out. We do not hold on to that awareness too tightly. It's not a tight awareness, it's a gentle, light awareness. If we're too concentrated and focused about it, we can get tense, and that defeats the purpose. So there's a gentle awareness of breath and an awareness of when the mind gets distracted and goes somewhere else, and then we just come back. We bring the mind back to the breath. without any kind of, there's no problem about that. It is quite normal that the mind will go here, there, and everywhere. So we gently notice, bring it back. As though we were training a young child or a young animal to be a little bit more disciplined. So we do that patiently with our mind, which is not yet trained. But we do it, as I said, not in a military style, but with gentleness and a sense of being relaxed. So awareness of breath at the nostrils, or we can focus on the sensation at the abdomen as we breathe in and out. And the other point is that we can use the out breath as a way to relax further, to let go of tension, and allow a sense of ease, spaciousness. So we can relax with that out breath, each out breath. So sit quietly for 10 minutes or so. If you get tired in the middle, by all means stop, take a little break, and then start again. So you could say, one might say that in life we are alone, but we are with others, alone with others. So when we practice like this in silence, it can become very, what should we say? We can enjoy it a lot. It, it can be something we need so much, and that's good. We need to take care of ourselves properly. Of course, in the Mahayana tradition, that taking care of oneself is, in a sense, given another meaning, or it is looked at from another perspective. The perspective that, yes, of course, we have to take care of ourselves and spend a lot of time perhaps initially, but that in the end, the best way, the wisest way to take care of ourselves actually is to take care of others, cherish others. Because by really cherishing other people genuinely, wholeheartedly, our own self-centeredness, our own preoccupation with ourselves, with me and my problems, that begins to fade away. So then naturally there's more relaxation, there's more happiness, there's more contentment, less anxiety about what's good for me, But we have to always maintain a very careful balance. And if we exhaust ourselves in the name of helping others, working for others, serving others, whatever, then we do an injustice to ourselves. We may not yet have the capacity to be of much benefit to others because we haven't yet really taken care of ourselves properly first. Like the example I always give, but it seems to be quite a good one, that if we want to be a lifesaver on the ocean, at the beach, to save people from drowning, there's no use being a half-hearted or a not very good swimmer. We have to be an excellent swimmer, a powerful swimmer, and have a powerful body as well. So for that, we have to first work on ourselves. Otherwise, each time we try to save someone from drowning, it will not work, or we will drown with them. So that's no use. We have to really take care of ourselves also. And while we're doing that, we also can reach out and be as beneficial as we can for others. Realizing, I think, that we often cannot do very much right now. I guess all of us have had that feeling sometimes with people we care for or whatever. We really want to help them and we just don't know how. Or we think we know how, but they do not appreciate our help. Or it becomes obvious that our help is not working. It wasn't the right method, or it wasn't the right timing, So many things could be not quite right when we don't have the real wisdom to know what is best. So in order to develop that wisdom and also the courage of compassion and so forth, we need to really develop our qualities. The good news, according to Buddhism, as I'm sure a lot of you know already, the good news is that although Buddha said we are in a state of dukkha or suffering, we do all possess, you might say, the seed of enlightenment, the seed of Buddhahood. We all have the potential to wake up completely and be of tremendous benefit to others. We all have that potential. It just needs to be developed, uncovered. And what prevents it, of course, is our distraction, our laziness, our ignorance, our preoccupation with our own agendas, and so forth. Yeah. So, yeah. So the reason we study and listen, reflect, meditate, study these great texts like Shantideva's work is because they have the capacity to help us awaken our deepest, seeds of intelligence and compassion and so forth. They help us attain the state of complete awakening. They are pointers on the path. If we really, I think, practice what these texts are talking about, then it seems clear that many people have become completely enlightened people, awakened people, on the basis of their study and practice. Of course, very dedicated practice and great devotion to the Buddha and his teachings, great devotion to their teachers and so forth. Then there are people like Milarepa, that's a great example from the Tibetan tradition, but also many others. Countless others have attained enlightenment. So this is why we practice. So just a few verses. First, from the great Kunu Lama Rinpoche, who was a great teacher of Bodhichitta. Some verses from his text, in verses in praise of Bodhichitta. Supreme Bodhichitta is the wish to remove every flaw, every error from every living being, and to bring about limitless good qualities in each of them. This is outstanding, even among the outstanding. If one wants to benefit everyone, one needs Bodhichitta. If one wants to befriend everyone, one needs Bodhichitta. If one wants to gain the confidence of all, one needs Bodhichitta. If one wants to be everyone's spiritual friend, one needs Bodhichitta. Those who wish to help living beings considered, out of a feeling of love, what would be of benefit to them. And they saw it was just this supreme Bodhichitta. The moon with its cooling beams eliminates pain, and the sun, the jewel of the sky, eliminates darkness. They cannot be compared to the Bodhichitta that eradicates all our defilements. If you want to help yourself, produce the excellent Bodhichitta. If you want to help others, produce excellent Bodhichitta. If you want to serve the Dharma, produce Bodhichitta. If you want the path to bliss, produce Bodhichitta. Yeah. Kunu Lama Rinpoche was, for your information, he was born in either 1894 or early 1895. And he passed away yes, not sure when he passed away. But it was, I think, in the probably in the 70s or early 80s, maybe in the 70s. Ajivji would know, we can ask him later. Well, he died in Lahul region in 1977. Yeah. Okay, so now the text of Shantideva, who was living in the 8th century AD, and whose guide is still one of the greatest texts of the Mahayana tradition, which has this remarkable chapter on meditation also, which we're looking at now, which is giving very deep instructions on how to actually produce this attitude of the mind of enlightenment, Bodhichitta, this aspiration to become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings, to have that spontaneous state of mind, which then becomes a mind of engaging in many wonderful activities to actually benefit others. The so-called Bodhisattva, the perfections, the practices of moral conduct, of giving, of patience, of energy, of exertion, effort, and the practices of concentration and wisdom. So we are working now on producing, developing that mind which genuinely becomes oriented towards benefiting others, cherishing others completely. Becoming, that attitude becoming the meaning of one's life. Not just something we do in our spare time, but that becomes the guiding light, the pole star, whatever, guiding principle in life to be of great benefit to others. Not just great benefit, but to work towards our own awakening in order to be able to benefit them in the best way. Since right now we can't do it, as we mentioned earlier. We have many limitations. Even though we may have a very good intention, we have many limitations in terms of our courage, our actual compassion, and our wisdom. We don't know very often just what to do to benefit others. Sometimes we don't even know how to benefit ourselves, right? Okay, so we've looked at these two very, very powerful verses, which I will repeat again before we go on to verse 131. So verse 129 says, whatever joy there is in this world, all comes from desiring others to be happy. Whatever suffering there is in this world, all comes from desiring myself to be happy. Yeah? Opposite of what the world thinks right now, yeah? We think all the joy in the world comes from trying to make myself happy. And it's other people who are a problem. I should, be very careful about other people, mistrust them, basically. Because, so many of them behave badly, so I must mistrust others. And where I can, I must utilize them for my own purpose. So this is completely the opposite of the Bodhisattva attitude. Then Shantideva says, what need is there to say much more? It's so obvious. Childish people work for themselves only, for their own benefit. And the Buddhas, or those who become Buddhas, you could say, Bodhisattvas, work for the benefit of others. And just look at the difference between those two groups of people. Yeah, the selfish, the childish, the normal sort of people who are self-centered, don't care very much for other people, who are willing to engage in harmful actions against other people to gain their own ends. Yeah, look at the difference between that kind of person and the person who genuinely gets tremendous joy from reaching out and helping other people. Yeah, not because they have to do it, not because someone's telling them to do it. It just becomes spontaneous activity, especially wherever that being sees sorrow, suffering. They automatically reach out. One example of this from a story of a teacher in the past, and this is in the section of the teachings which is talking about the qualities of the genuine Mahayana teacher. There was a teacher who, taught he had many students. His helper, his attendant, was upset because he felt the students were not respectful enough and thankful enough to his teacher. His teacher worked so hard and patiently to teach them, and the attendant felt they're not thankful enough. So he said this to the teacher, these students are not thankful enough. And the teacher said, look, when I teach, all I see in front of me, in a sense, is suffering beings, people who need help. All I see is people who are suffering. So question of thanks does not arise. There's no need for thanks. It's like he's just saying, I'm just doing what has to be done. When you see people who are in pain or sick or suffering, you help them. So that kind of attitude, it's an extraordinary attitude. I'm sure actually some doctors probably have that attitude in the sense that, when they see suffering patients, they just want to help them. Really good doctors, kind doctors, that's what they want to do, right? They don't need the patient to say thank you to them all the time. If the patient is really suffering so much in great pain, they don't expect the patient to say thank you, Plus, when we have insight, isn't it, into our own minds and other people's minds, we know how self-preoccupied we can become. We can forget to be thankful, to be grateful. Sometimes we mean to be, but we forget. Later we remember, oh, I didn't even thank the person, So anyway, that's kind of the Bodhisattva attitude. You see beings are suffering. So if someone is suffering, you help them. So simple. Whether they say thank you or not is irrelevant. Totally irrelevant. Yeah. Okay. So now verse 131. If I do not actually exchange my happiness for the suffering of others, I shall not attain the state of Buddhahood, and even in cyclic existence shall have no joy. Yeah. Are you okay there, Bob? What are you up to? Huh? Yeah, okay. We have 2 people here at Tushita and a lot of you online. So if I do not actually exchange my happiness for the suffering of others, I shall not attain the state of Buddhahood. And even in cyclic existence, I shall have no joy. So this is basically saying that, you see, even ordinary happiness I will not get if I am not willing to suffer for the sake of others, I will not be able to have even worldly happiness if my attitude is just to get as much happiness for myself as I can and ignore others. I should actually be willing to suffer for the sake of others. Yeah, like a kind mother who doesn't have enough food in the house, she will share whatever food, she will give that food to the child, to her children, rather than see them hungry. She's willing to go hungry, right? Parents often do this. This is not something unusual for parents, maybe, in hard times, right? So in that way, the Bodhisattva is expected to behave like this. Behaves like this, not expected to, just does it because that's what they are. That's how they have trained their minds. Yeah. So if we are only preoccupied, it seems Shantideva is saying that if we're only preoccupied with our own happiness, let alone Buddhahood, you can forget Buddhahood. That's not going to happen. But you're not even going to have happiness in this life. In your day-to-day life, you won't have happiness if all you're thinking about is yourself. And if you aren't willing to suffer for the sake of others, and if you just want, I have to be happy, I don't care about whether other people are happy or not. No. So again, we can say, well, this is nonsense, but again, we should check very carefully. We should check very carefully why we are listening to this teaching. Why are we here? If we are so happy and so contented and our life is so good, why do we bother to listen to teachings? Why is our life still full of problems, misunderstandings, upset, jealousy, pride, anxiety, fear, and all the rest of it. Why? It's because, we haven't been training our mind properly. We haven't exchanged our happiness for the suffering of others. We're afraid of suffering. We try to run away from it and make ourselves content with the 8 worldly feelings. We want pleasure, we want gain, we want praise, we want good reputation. Can't handle the other 4, the opposites. So all our life we've been running away from actually training our minds in this way. So therefore we're suffering. It's so clear. So verse 131 makes it very clear. So, and then in the next verse, Shantideva talks about what happens when we have this kind of attitude. He says, let alone what is beyond this world, because my servants do not work, because my masters give me no pay, even the needs of this life will not be fulfilled. So he's saying, if we have this attitude of just caring for ourselves, then even, we won't be able to, our servants won't work for us properly because they won't like us, basically. And if we are a servant ourselves, then our masters will not pay us properly. The needs of this life will not be fulfilled. By rejecting the method that establishes both foreseeable and unforeseeable joy, I cast magnificent delight completely aside, and then, because of inflicting misery on others, in confusion, I seize hold of unbearable pain. Wow. So here, he's saying that if I reject this marvelous practice of equalizing and exchanging myself for others, which leads to bodhicitta, if I reject this, then I'm rejecting what could give me amazing, unbelievable joy and happiness, which I can't even imagine right now. Foreseeable and unforeseeable joy. Not just the delights of worldly life, because for the bodhisattva, for someone who's really exchanged themselves for others, even worldly happiness comes, even if they may not want it. They have worldly happiness, and of course the unforeseeable happiness, the extraordinary happiness of the higher stages of the Bodhisattva path and Buddhahood. So those are stages of, we can't even call them happy. They are beyond our conception of, the word happy does not cover probably what these beings experience. Yeah? So this unforeseeable joy, we are casting it aside. We're casting aside magnificent delight. And by behaving in a selfish way, because of basically inflicting misery on others, creating confusion for others in all sorts of ways. Often we don't even want to, but out of ignorance, we are harming others. We're harming others out of ignorance. This happens, right? So because of that, because of the confusion involved in that, the ignorance, the lack of clarity that is in one's mind, the cloud of ignorance, the karmic veils which we have, due to that, we're just creating cause for unbearable pain, unbearable suffering of samsara. Again and again and again, never ending. I'm just trying to see what Wallace's translation is of verse 133. Just a moment, please. He says, forsaking the generation of mutual happiness and the felicity of present and future happiness, deluded people take on tremendous suffering because of harming one another. Then he says, next verse, if the whole range of adversities, sufferings, and fears in the world arises from grasping onto the self, what use is this grasping to me? And then he quotes the Tibetan, if all the harm, fear, and suffering, I think he has exact translation of the Tibetan also he alludes to here. If all the harm, fear, and suffering in the world occur due to grasping onto the self, what use is that great demon to me? As you know, there's no actual shaitan in the sense of the theistic traditions have the devil, the shaitan. But in Buddhism, the great devil, of course, is this self-cherishing attitude, which comes from self-grasping ignorance. Yeah. So the Bachelor translation says, if all the injury, fear, and pain in this world arise from grasping at a self, then what use is that great ghost to me? Yeah. He's trying to get us to really think about this, that contrary to the way we've been thinking up to now, contrary to our conditioning and habitual patterns, great happiness, joy, and so forth does not come from just trying to fulfill our own purpose all the time. It backfires again and again and again. You know? Because we try to use other people, we try to do all sorts of things. We have many games we play, then we actually inflict harm, physical harm on others, trying to get what we want. We cheat them, we lie, we engage in sexual misconduct, we use harsh speech, you know, we try to divide people who are friends, we lie to people, and we use very sarcastic language. We can, and then engage in a lot of idle gossip. This is the big danger nowadays. Yeah, big danger with all of the media we have to be idle and just, spending time with a lot of kind of idle gossip, which usually would happen in the open air in a chai shop, but now it can be engaged in many of our medias. So anyway, what use is this great demon of self-cherishing, which is only thinking of oneself and behaving in a neurotic, insane fashion, which only brings us more and more pain? If I don't completely forsake it, this great ghost, if I don't completely forsake it, this self-cherishing, I shall be unable to put an end to suffering. Just as I cannot avoid being burned if I do not cast aside the fire I hold. A really stupid person might be holding a coal in their hand and saying, I'm suffering, and it would need someone else to tell them, look, you're suffering because you're holding on to this piece of coal. A really stupid person might not know. So we have to be we have to be explained as though we're children, what the cause of suffering is, what the cause of happiness is. Without forsaking one's own self, this is the Wallace translation, without forsaking one's own self, one cannot avoid suffering. Just as without avoiding fire, one cannot avoid being burned. Therefore, in order to alleviate my own suffering and to alleviate the suffering of others, I give myself up to others and I accept others as my own self. Oh, wow. Goodness me. Goodness me, it's getting, yes. Therefore, in order to allay the harms inflicted upon me and in order to pacify the sufferings of others, I shall give myself up to others and cherish them as I do my very self. That makes it a bit clearer, doesn't it? What does Padmakara translation say? I haven't looked at that for a while. To free myself from harm, this is quite nice. To free myself from harm and others from their suffering, let me give myself to others, loving them as I now love myself. That's also nice. That's Padmakara, verse 136. Each one of these verses one could meditate on, isn't it? Because we're just listening. This is just the listening and the studying part. And even that, not very deeply, let alone reflection and meditation, which are supposed to be essential for getting some depth, deep gut level feeling for this or experience of it. So let's just stop for a while and reflect on these verses we just looked at, these last two. If I don't completely forsake it, I shall be unable to put an end to suffering. Just as I can't avoid being burned if I don't cast aside the fire that I hold in my hand. And therefore, in order to allay the harms inflicted upon me, in order to pacify the sufferings of others, I shall give myself up to others and cherish them as I do my very self. So let's reflect on this. One could reflect on one's own experience in life up to now. What happens when I take care of myself alone and just love myself and don't bother to reach out and care for the happiness of others? So let's spend some time on this and the other reasonings you may want to look at for a while. The equality of self and others, and then the actual exchange of self with others. Use one's own life experience to look at this. Let it not be theoretical. And one way also to reflect on this is to remember times when you have received the care, the consideration, and the love of others, whether from your parents or some relation or friend. When you have received tremendous kindness from another, how do you feel? What does it feel like to receive genuine kindness? So wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to share that with others, to give that care, consideration, loving kindness and concern to help others, to protect others in that way, just as we can be nourished and protected by those qualities. It seems this is very close to the meaning of the golden rule, which is there, it seems, in many of the great faiths, but do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So others are the same as us in what they want. So, for heaven's sake, let's give them what they want. And while we're doing that, you see, it reduces the preoccupation with our own anxiety and what we want. That self-centeredness, which is so ingrained. In the next verse, Shantideva is talking to himself, which is a very wonderful thing to do. Sometimes we should talk to ourselves, especially when other people aren't looking. Trungpa Rinpoche says we should talk to ourselves in the shower. We should be eccentric, he says, eccentric bodhisattvas. When we do something good, we should talk to ourselves and say, well done, You almost, made a mess of that, but you did good, You did well, or you did this well, you helped somebody, whatever. Or very often we must scold ourselves, You nitwit, what you think you are doing, speaking like that, or talking like that, or doing that. That's not very skillful. Don't do that. Anyway, here Shantideva says to himself in verse 137, I am under the control of others. Of this mind you must be certain. Now, except for benefiting every creature, you must not think of anything else. Wow. I'm under the control of others. Of course, we may think, yeah, I'm under the control of others. I hate it. I hate this, being under the control of others, manipulating people. I want to be free. Of course, this is not what is meant here, though. He's saying, as you know, he's saying, look, stop being so selfish and consider others' needs to be of prime importance. Other people's needs should be governing your behavior, not your own all the time. So in that sense, I'm under the control of others. Doesn't mean if we have an evil, whatever, grandmother, grandfather, that we have to obey everything they say, or our boss at work. Yeah, it may not be a good idea to be totally under the control of such people. But here it's saying, if you're going to be a servant, that means other people's needs come first, not your own. And I think I mentioned once, this really good monk friend of mine who was studying in Dharamsala, amazing story that he worked 2 years in Saudi Arabia teaching English at a big company called Aramco. And in 2 years, he earned enough money to sponsor all of his 15, 16 years of studies as a monk in MacLeodganj at the dialectic school, and still have some money left over, English, he's now Geshe Graham, Geshe Tenzin Losel. So he had stuck on his wall, he was quite eccentric, he was British and quite eccentric. And he has stuck on his wall he had on his wall in Dharamsala, a quote, actually from not from the Mahayana tradition. Interestingly enough, it was, I think he said, from the Theravada teachings, scriptures. It said, Bodhisattva, unpaid servant of the world. Bodhisattva, the unpaid servant of the world. So what a great advert for, voluntarism, yeah? So the unpaid servant of the world. So now, except for benefiting every creature, you must not think of anything else. Goodness me. For my sake, I should not do anything with these eyes and so forth, which I have left at the disposal of others. It's quite incorrect to do anything with them, which is contrary to the benefit of others. Amazing. Where do you find this? Which scriptures do you find this in? This kind of talk. It's amazing, actually. It's down to earth. It's not esoteric in that sense. We can understand the words, but the meaning is mind-blowing. What do we use our eyes for? I use my eyes to look out for things that I find attractive. When I'm in the market, I look, where's the gajar halwa? Where's the this? Where's the that I like? He's saying use your eyes for something that benefits others. Your eyes are for the sake of others. Your limbs are for the sake of others. Everything is for the sake of others. Isn't that amazing? When you think about it, if you just go through your body bit by bit, you think everything is for the sake of others. All of my sense powers, the hearing, the seeing, the tasting, the touching, the smelling, everything for the sake of others, not just me. It's pretty mind-blowing, actually. Someone should make, I don't know, cartoon about this or something, animated film for children and adults, of course. Okay. Thus, sentient beings should be my main concern. Whatever I behold upon my body, I should rob and use for the benefit of others. Isn't that great? Whatever I had, I should rob. Whatever's in my right hand, I should rob with my left hand and give it to others. Amazing. And of course, the great Bodhisattva in his previous life, Mahasattva, as in beautiful chapter in the Sutra of Golden Light. Yeah, he gave his whole body. Yeah, top to bottom, he gave his body to the hungry tigress. I remember one nun who was reciting that text with us, because Rinpoche used to say, you should recite this text again and again, if you can. Sutra of Golden Light, it's very good for peace in the world and so forth. And we have recited it in the past at Tushita in Delhi. I remember this nun, American nun, who had worked a lot with prisoners in jails. She was reciting, and when we came to this chapter of the Bodhisattva feeding his body to the hungry tigress, she was, she was weeping. She was so moved by that, by that episode where the Bodhisattva, because he says, up to now, what's happened? I've used this body for myself, life after life, and what has it brought me? This kind of essenceless body, which is like, fit for maggots and worms and like a bubble. I've just used it for myself. Now I'm going to use it for others. I'm going to use it for a greater purpose. And he lies down next to the tigress, and she's too weak. She's too weak to eat him up. So he looks around for a sharp object, finds some old bamboo. Bamboo is an amazing gift of nature. For building and all sorts of things. He finds an old piece of bamboo, which is very sharp also, and just slits his own neck so the blood flows well. And then she's able to lick that up, get strong, and eat him up completely. So he does that, of course, with great joy, because he's a great bodhisattva. No fear or pain involved. So you and I should not try that yet, unless you are at that stage. So for us to even give our time and the work of our body to others can be very difficult. But the great bodhisattvas can totally even give their body as food to beings that need it. So this is something extraordinary, something that goes against ordinary worldly reason. And maybe, but on the other hand, something in us, I think, might resonate. Something in us tells us, wow, this is something extraordinary, something worthwhile, isn't it? Okay, let's have some discussion. Sorry, I've been going on and on and on. And all of you are very patient. I've wondered if Mara is Buddhism's version of Satan, Shaitan. Yes, Dr. Sneha, it is a bit like that, I think. Yeah, it is like that. I'll just unmute all of you. Okay. Any comments? Or anything? Bob, do you want to get me some hot water and do a great Bodhisattva action? Oh. Thank you. Oops. Just hot water. Okay. So we have two people here at Tushita and lots of you online. So thank you, onliners. We have Bob and Namita here in Gompa. And I'm wondering if we should just do everything online now, you know. The world is going digital, digital this, digital that. Maybe we don't need a center, everything online. What do you think? What do you think, Anushri? Don't need centers, right? Especially for you people down south. Tushita is of no use to you. Your laptop is of more use to you than Tushita. I'm kind of kidding, but yeah, I think I hope it's just the cold weather of Delhi that is keeping people away. Okay, anybody? Rajesh ji, you are in Bodh Gaya, I think, still?
Yes, Guruji, I am in Bodh Gaya.
Guruji, mat bolo ji humko. और कैसे चल रहा है आपका? You are acting as a servant right now of Root Institute. How is that working for you? Is it good to be a servant?
It's wonderful to be a servant.
Really? Why? What's wrong with you? Are you practicing Shantideva's teachings or what?
No, it's very high teaching. I slowly I can try.
So why are you enjoying it so much in Bodh Gaya? Bataiye.
Because Rinpoche asked me to serve his center.
Oh.
I should stay here, and Rinpoche was saying to the center director that I would be useful for the center.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know, but I will try my best. I don't know.
But you are enjoying it.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's hard, but it's also wonderful. I am enjoying it.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy for you. That's wonderful.
And we started from today. We started feeding the Matriya school children.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Banana and peanuts, and then next week we will start khichdi.
Excellent, excellent.
That's my job.
Wonderful. Great. Very happy to hear that. Very happy. Because yeah, it used to be so sad. Sometimes especially the lower caste children, they would come to school in the morning and they were hungry, you know, they hadn't had any breakfast. So you can't expect a 4, 5, 6-year-old to study without any food in their stomach, you know, they're kids. Used to be dreadful. So then that kid would be taken out of the class and they would be given something to eat immediately.
No, tomorrow I will stand on a gate and distribute banana to every children when they are arriving to the school.
Wow. That we never did before. That sounds wonderful. Good, good, good. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's an example of someone who is serving others and enjoying very much. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have that experience? Anushri, you are serving the children at Rishi Valley School. Is that fun or is it more heartache for you?
Don't ask. We have all kinds of issues. One girl, she's like, yeah, so like it's the quiet time, and so I tell them to be quiet. I went out and I told them to be quiet. The next instant, after some time, there's this girl, she's howling, she's on the floor, and 2 girls are pulling her up. And I went again, and then
why is she howling?
Because she fell down. and then two girls are pulling her up and they are playing. So I actually, like, it's very hard, in the sense to deal with them tactfully, in the sense not to, kind of scold them, at the same time convey with a lot of gentleness that certain things are not supposed to be done in certain ways. You know what I mean?
How old are
So
these children? These children you're talking about?
so the girl 13, no, 12 and 11. 12 and
Oh,
11. Yeah.
so serving of course, you get paid as a teacher, but serving the children in that way, on balance, is it something you feel you enjoy or not?
Yeah, I get to reflect on myself, because sometimes I tend to lose my cool. Like, there's this one girl, so she's very young, and she's like, so we have told her, like, if you want to hang around with this classmate of yours, you do it in a group, okay? Don't go
Mm.
alone, just somewhere wherever you feel like. And they have done this in the past, and both of them are just in sixth standard. So I counseled her, I talked to her, and she's in my house. So every time she does something, it comes all back to me. Like, I'm told, like, she did this today, she did that, and you have to
Uh,
talk to her. So
okay.
then, yeah, so navigating such
Detail nature,
space.
Yapuna, but your point is that it is difficult working for others, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So then you need
It's
patience and courage and to
like,
remember
yeah, you need a lot of skill also, like how to, what
will.
action to take, how much to say, and how to say.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, good. Thank you for your feedback. Anybody else? Nilashi, you're working with children and with certain adults. What's that like? You want to share? Oh, she disappeared. Did she just now? Okay. She suddenly disappeared. Anybody else?
Kabirji.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course, Naveen.
Yes.
You're also a teacher.
No, but no, it's always very inspiring to listen to Rajeshi. I mean, I have never met him, but he always puts the most profound things in such simple sort of. And so, of course, serving others brings you so much joy. There is no doubt about it, and it also comes with so much lineage, from Lama Serlingpa to Shantideva to all the way. But the difficulty at the same time is also for at least some people who have difficulty in finding self-love. It becomes
Yeah.
challenging to go with this. It needs a lot more skill than what skill in a different way. Usually, for some people, the challenge is to prioritize others. For some others, it becomes difficult to also love yourself, also cherish oneself. And that Padmakara translation, as opposed to Bachelor translation, seems to be so much more helpful in that sense. That how do you equalize? How do you love others like you would love yourself? So the challenge of loving oneself for some people are very challenging. So that skill sometimes becomes very difficult. It's easier to prioritize other people's needs sometimes because you feel less guilty about it. How is it that we learn to love ourselves and at the same time love others in the way we learn to love ourselves? That seems to be difficult sometimes.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. But how about this though? How about that when one gets over one's fears and actually tries to help someone else? Say one is trying to help a child or an adult, whatever, and you are, being as kind as you can to them. Okay, even though one has one's own problems and so forth, one is being kind to them and opening up to them, and then they can also respond then with kindness and openness, and you can see that your openness, your kindness is benefiting that person, so then that in itself is your own reward, because one does need, let's face it, rewards in the beginning. We do need affirmations from others that we are okay and doing the right thing, so then that builds up our self-confidence. And then we can be more open, more loving, more able to help others. But often there's this sense, I'm useless, I am of no use to myself or to other people. There is that fear. Of course, there's also the fear, at least I found in my life, one is often afraid of rejection from others in all sorts of ways. So then one doesn't open up and offer what one could to to other people. So I think there, as the teachings say, one needs courage. And one Kadampa teacher went as far as to say, in one very short, terse expression, he says it all comes down to courage. The Bodhisattva path comes down to courage. Also, the willingness to take a risk, to experiment, to open up. Because once we open up, then others open up. Yeah, it's like that tense situation you have often when you're with other people, say, in a group or just one-on-one, no one is saying anything, then you open up and say something, and then something starts flowing, right? So it's like that. If we open up and flow with other people, then they are more likely to flow back. But if they don't, that's not, that's okay. That's, sometimes we are in a situation and others are in a different situation. So it doesn't always work, but that's where we need the patience and the skill. How do we make others happy? Shantideva is also saying this. How can we really make other people happy? We can make them happy by not prioritizing my own agenda all the time, because my agenda is not necessarily the other person's agenda, right? So how am I skillfully going to help another, which is going to be helpful to them? And which they will not construe as some kind of interference with their life, because often it is like that. And I think in the modern world, where people are more and more aware of their privacy and so forth, depending on the culture one is from, but some people can be very, very private in that sense. It's not like the old sort of open door culture that maybe was there a lot more before. So then one has to be very careful. One has to be very careful, very patient. That's why patience is such an important perfection, I guess, practice. Yeah.
Can I say one sentence, Kabir ji?
I think so, since Naveen ji finds your Haryanvi directness very useful. So bataiye.
एक 20 साल के पहले, करीबन 15-20 साल पहले गुरुजी ने बोला था, मैं टीचिंग में था, मेरे को लगा गुरुजी मेरे को बोल रहे हैं, तो गुरुजी ने बोला था ये मंत्र जाप करो, I am the servant of all living being.
So 20 years
वो
ago,
मैंने किया तो मेरे
हाँ बोलो, बाद में ट्रांसलेट करता हूँ।
वो मैंने जब रूम में बैठ के किया तो बड़ा डर सा लग रहा है, बोलने में भी बड़ा मेरे को झिझक हुआ कि क्या बोल रहा हूँ मैं सर्वेंट, एकदम से उसको बोलने में बड़ा दिक्कत हुआ।
अच्छा,
फिर मैंने धीरे धीरे कोशिश किया तो कुछ हेल्पफुल मेरे को लगा। थैंक यू कबीर जी।
Thank you. So, Venerable Kundrol, you maybe didn't understand. So 20 years ago, Rajesh was listening to a teaching from Rinpoche, and he said, you should recite the mantra, I'm a servant of others, I'm a servant of others. So he tried that, and although initially, very difficult, it seems to have been very useful, very profound and very useful. I'm the servant of others, I'm the servant of others. So if you get bored in Montana, you know what you can recite. I'm the servant of others. Because there's also this story in the Kadampa tradition where I think the great who is the lay a devotee who helped Atisha and who is regarded as an emanation of Avalokiteshvara. I'm forgetting the name right now. Anyway, there was this great lay practitioner whose name is on the tip of my tongue. And he told somebody, look, if your kind mother was sick and ill and ignorant and she was unknown to herself, she was walking towards a cliff, not knowing that she was going to fall over, or if she was being attacked, if she was being attacked by a mad dog, then even though your legs may be crippled, and the Lama was talking to someone whose legs were crippled, you would dash as fast as you could towards your mother and try to save her, right? Even though you have bad legs. So, that kind of attitude. I'm a servant of others. I must get out there and help others, whatever the situation, whatever situation I think I'm in. Yeah. And I wish I could remember the name of the great being who gave the story. He's so famous. Ajirji, who was the great lay emanation of Avalokiteshvar, who was the disciple of Atisha, who helped Atisha when he was sick.
Is it Dromton?
Yeah?
Is it Dromton, Kabirji?
Yeah,
Dromton?
thank you so much. Yeah. John Tompa. Great. Thank you. John Tompa. So, he was like that. So it seems like we have people amongst us who have gained a lot of inspiration from working with others. So that's wonderful. Anybody else? Apurva, Isabel, Nivita, Ajar, Vikramji, Ayesha. Any more tales to tell? Any more feedback? It's getting perilously close to dinner time, isn't it? For some of us. Auntie is far away, and 300 meters away. Anji, anybody? Vikramji, anything? Are you enjoying? You look like you're in a state of perpetual enjoyment. This is something very amazing. Maybe it's just my bad eyesight, can't say. But you look like you're having a good time. Yeah. How are you, Ayesha? Are you okay? Ayesha ji?
Yes, thank you. I'm fine.
Good. Isabel, where are you? Are you in a foreign country?
I'm in Portugal.
Portugal, amazing. Portugal, amazing. Yeah.
It's cold here now, very cold.
It's cold there?
Yeah, now, yes.
It would be, yeah. Europe gets cold, no? But it's cold
Now
in Delhi.
There's a wind, very cold now coming here.
Oh, you're outside, are you?
No, I'm home.
That's a white wall behind you. Okay. Yeah, it can be windy here also in Delhi.
It's true that my it's blue like sky, so you think I'm outside, but I'm not.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Are you finding Shantideva's teachings useful?
Always inspiring and defying.
He's amazing. He's absolutely amazing.
Yes, like I studied several times. I always knew.
Good. Have you received teachings
I'm taking care of my mother.
Okay.
I'm taking care of my mother. She's 40 years old, and I left everything for her, and I feel this satisfaction. Yes, it's like I could not do anything in any other way. It's like I'm very happy. Yeah, to do
How
that.
old is your mother?
Do very well. 94.
Wow.
And she gets more energetic when she's with me, maybe because of the blessings of the gurus and the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, because she becomes very, very, and this I cannot do anymore right now better than this time, I think.
Maybe also the
But I'm very
blessings
happy.
blessings of your kindness. Also your gurus. But love and compassion are also blessings, no?
But my kindness come from my gurus and the inspiration of the Shantidevas or Bodhisattvas and Buddha. So it's there also.
Mm-hmm.
If I had some guidance, and also my mother is my inspiration when I was young. So it's a result of, I cannot do it my own kindness only. I cannot say that.
Sure. Good. Thank you. Shall we dedicate now? Yeah, we can share more on Thursday, those who want to share. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Due to everybody's effort, we have the session together. And, thank you to Bob, who is actually looking at his mobile phone, but him being here is nice that Bob is here. And some of you know Bob. And Namita was here a while ago. So thank you, all of you. May we never be separated from great teachings like these teachings of the great Shantideva. And may we never be separated from the holy teachers who have been guiding us over the years, His Holiness and Lama Zopa Rinpoche in our case here, and many, many other great teachers who are guiding. So may they all have long and healthy lives. May all their wishes be fulfilled. May we be worthy students and practice as much as we can, benefiting others and so forth. And then please dedicate that our lives are very meaningful for others. So even people who upset us and so forth, may our presence be beneficial for them, create the cause for them to benefit. May the Dharma last in this world for a very, very long time. But we should always pray for this, for the teachers to remain and teach, and for the Dharma to remain for a very long time in this world to benefit others. And I guess may we take these teachings that real happiness in life starts when we begin to cherish others, based on, of course, proper understanding and skillful cherishing of oneself as well. Absolutely. But cherishing others is the gateway to the highest bliss of Buddhahood and the highest bliss of others. So thank you all very much. There's also, of course, an example of dependent arising. Everything depends on causes and conditions. So all of us took time to attend the session, so that created something beneficial for everybody. So, tremendous thanks to everyone. Take care.
Kabirji, we were thinking about Medicine Buddha mantra.
We were.
Yeah.
We were. It got lost in the ether, in the fog, in the space. We can do on Thursday. We'll be more prepared, maybe. But you know the mantra and you know the tune, so you can recite it. But yeah, we will do. We will do
it together.
Yeah, actually today is the Tibetan 25th, so it's actually a Guru Puja day, the day of the Guru. But of course, a good day for any practice. Every day is a good day for practice. But yeah, yeah, do some medicine for that if you feel like it. Always good. Always good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. I'm just seeing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you,
you.
Adnan. Thank you, Venerable, for joining early morning from Montana.
Thank you.
And yeah, send me a picture one day from Montana. I really loved it when I went through on a Greyhound bus those years ago. The wildness of Montana. Yeah. Thank you. Good evening.